Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Violet Rain.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Violet B. Rain. My guest today is Pandora, Pappas. I probably really butchered that, but hopefully I got that right. But
Close.
Close. I love close, right? Those that know me, I have a hard time with some words. Just hang on there with me. As long as you know what I'm saying, we're in good shape. All right. So Pandora is a third generation psychic medium who's clairaudient, clairvoyant, and clairsentient. She uses her gifts to help people connect with their higher selves and make the best choices of their lives. She believes that everyone has the power to create their own happiness, and she helps people tap into their own wisdom. I'm going to jump down through her bio because she has a Pandora's box of cards which have 44 oracle decks with a guided book designed to be used daily if you wish. So I can't wait to dive into lots of these conversations that we're going to have today. So welcome to the show. Welcome. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me this morning.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me, Violet.
I still love her glasses. Don't you love her glasses? They're all sparkly. We all like sparkly. See, I have a sparkly dress on. I got asked this morning, are you going somewhere? And I go to get my hair cut this afternoon. And they're like, but you're dressed in a sparkly dress. I like to dress up. So here we go. Right. So
it's perfect.
I love it. So as a psychic medium, one of the conversations you love to talk about is how to turn up the volume of your intuition. And just like I'm sure you believe everyone has intuition, we may label it different. We may interact with it differently, but we're all connected. So talk to us a little bit of your perspective and how we can turn up that volume so that we're noticing or paying more attention.
Okay, so one of the things that I like to do with clients is get them to tap into their gut wisdom. So a lot of our intuition comes from our gut, but the other thing that happens in our gut, those little butterflies that we feel, those are happy, intuitive vibes, but we also get our fear in our solar plexus, in our gut. So I help people to decipher between the fear voice and the true intuition. And then we tap into how to turn it up by literally seeing that there's a knob right there on your solar plexus. And you can turn the volume slowly up because some people walk around with their intuition way up. Like it's not even at a 10, it's at 100. And they start to deplete themselves because they get burnt out. They're getting all this information all the time from everything around them. So those people need to turn down the volume a little bit. Or we do have the people who walk around with the fear voice or the anxiety, always worrying that something's going to go wrong. So we can turn down the volume on that and turn up the volume on the intuition, which also brings a little sense of peacefulness. Of course, I'm giving you like the in a nutshell version.
I love the in a nutshell version. And I love that concept because, most people think that when we feel other people's emotions, that it comes into our heart chakra or our heart, and it really comes into our solar plexus. And if you've studied the chakras, any length of time, our solar plexus is our power center. It's our confidence center. So when it gets blocked and clogged up with all these emotions or lots of stuff going on, we're not stepping into our power or confidence. And people do talk about, my gut, I don't feel comfortable, or it feels very exciting. And all that comes from here, which is also what you have to keep in mind is your digestive system, because we swallow our words, our thoughts, they go down into our gut and then they rot there. I have a friend of mine that talks about they rot there. And then you have indigestion and all these digestive processes going on, which a lot of people today are struggling with because we're constantly swallowing those emotions. So making sure that
Mhm.
we're getting that out so we're not swallowing it, and keeping this very clear and tuned in so that we know what's going on instead of
Yep.
going through our day without paying attention is probably
Hmm.
super, super important for all of us.
It is. It definitely is. And especially for people who think that they have this intuition and that maybe they shouldn't. Like, this is a weird thing that I'm feeling. I don't understand it. I don't know if I necessarily want it. People in my family told me that I knew things, but I don't know if I wanted to know things. People sometimes coming from that perspective, if they're confused about it or uh, on the fence about whether they want to own it, it really helps for them to work on that volume knob, so that they can start to make sense of their gifts. And I, like you, believe that we were all born with intuition. We all have that sense of things, it's just innate. And a lot of kids, especially those first 7 years of life, they're just walking around in full intuition all the time, and they don't hold back. They just spit it out, whatever they're seeing and feeling and sensing, and it's magical. And if they grew up in an environment like I did, they can keep that more easily open. A lot of families don't understand it, so they shut it off.
Or
So
they're
that's pretty
terrified
challenging.
of it. My mother was terrified of it because I knew things, and I would come to her as a small child and go, "This is going to happen," or "This is going to happen," or "This is going to turn out this way." And she kept going, "Stop that.
Hmm.
You can't do that. Don't do that." And so, when you're talking to your friends as a child or your family and they're not open to this and nobody else is paying attention to it but you, eventually you don't want to be different than everybody else. We all want to be accepted. And
Yep.
so being accepted means we shut it down or we ignore it. And even those professionals that are in business jobs and wherever you are, you're using your intuition. You're just calling it something different. My
Yep.
gut says that this
Hmm.
doesn't feel right. You're being guided to some extent, maybe not as much as would be really helpful, but you're taking on, my one of my careers was human resources. And what I didn't realize for a long time was I was using my intuition to hire people and put people in certain positions and stuff because they knew what would work and who would work well together. And some people would say, "Oh, you're just a great coach," which is what my husband would say. "You're just a great therapist and a coach. You do really good at that." No, my gut was really guiding me. And we
Hmm.
all utilize it in different ways. We just call it something else, or we don't even have a label for it. It's just something like some families have. Mom just always knows something, so pay attention. Or sister's always connected to something. We don't know what it is, but pay attention to what she says. Just notice that in your own family or yourself or people around you. We all have this. It's just how do we utilize it to be a gift, a blessing, versus this fear of, whew, what am I feeling? Why is that happening? And not trusting it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think a lot of it, the way to get better at it is to write it down. When you have an intuitive flash, when you have a sense about something, write it down in a journal and then go back to it later. The part that a lot of people forget to do is to go back to it later and give yourself a check mark or a gold star when you were right, or go back to it and give yourself a little bit more information that you know about the situation after it has occurred so that you can sort of chart your progress, because this really is something that we do with ourselves first. And if you have a friend who is also intuitive or working on their intuitive wisdom, their gut wisdom, their little vibes, it's fun because then you've got a buddy that you can do it with, so you don't feel like you're out there in the weeds all by yourself, because it's hard when you don't have a support system. And I feel like what you're doing with your podcast is you're giving people a support system and people to connect with who can guide them. And that's a beautiful thing, because you have such a resource. You have so many people that you've spoken with about this subject and more fun woo woo stuff.
It's true because not everyone lives in an area where this is really available. You know, I'm lucky enough that I live in Denver and this is a really big spiritual hub here. So there's lots of communities and little pods and groups everywhere that people can connect with. But there are people out there in the world that are kind of isolated that don't have that. And I think we're social creatures and we need to have like minded people around us that we can talk to, that we can share with. And, you know, having that friend to sit down and share with that you feel comfortable with is awesome. Having a community where you can go and talk to people and connect to people is really awesome. Having a mentor coach that can really give you guidance is also awesome if you feel really isolated and alone, because I've met lots of people that they're very connected, but their family and friends aren't. And so they feel like this, you know, strange creature in the middle of all of these people. And having people you can talk to freely. I love it when
Mhm.
students come to my center and they're going and they say, "You're going to think I'm strange." No.
No, welcome. We love you here. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to think I'm strange. I had this experience. I'm like, no, no. But where can we go to find that? Make sure if you're listening to this podcast and you really want to have this connection, find community, find a mentor, find a friend, find someone to share it, because when you're alone, you don't utilize it or you shut it down or you have a hard time. Fear steps in of
Hmm.
different than everybody else. And this is such a blessing and a gift. It's what I call our navigation system. It was given to us to help us in this lifetime navigate all these experiences that we're having in this physical body so that we could move through these experiences a little bit more easily, a little bit more aware, a little
Hmm.
bit more present. And I think it's really important. So, you know, whoever that is, whoever you resonate, find somebody to work with. You talk about the ripple effect, and I love this. How our energy affects more than just us and how it ripples out in the world. I talk about this a lot too, but share with us your perspective on the ripple effect.
Well, a lot of times we think that the energy that we bring, the stories that we share, the way we show up for people only goes to that one person. And it really doesn't, because the things that you share in this world, you touch that person, they take that energy, that emotion, and they expand it out. They talk about you, they talk about the things that they learned from you, how you made them feel. You know, we forget that there is a big world out there that can be touched by us by little steps, a series of little steps, almost like, you know, the ripples when you throw a rock into the water. So the world that we're in right now, we are all seeking more support. We're all also seeking more community. So by sharing your energy with those around you and your ideas and your care, reaching out, checking on a friend, starting this habit where you're reaching out rather than sitting and waiting for somebody to reach out to you. That's something small, but it creates a much bigger ripple because somebody feels seen, needed, wanted, right? So it goes beyond that, of course, like the things that we can do, not only just one on one with people, but by taking a step forward with volunteering for a cause or a passion that we have, we're then sharing our energy with a larger group. And that goes out bigger. You know, it's about also coming out of the shadows. I feel like these last 5, 6 years that we've lived through on planet Earth have not been the easiest. And it put a lot of people into the shadows. So they need to remember that their energy doesn't need to be small and contained, that it can be little steps that create that bigger ripple to connection, right?
I love that. I love that. Some of the ripple effects that I talk about is when we do healing or energy healing on ourselves, we think we're only healing ourselves. And the reality is that ripple ripples through not only our family, our generations, our ancestors, but also ripples to the community and the planet. There is a universal law that talks about the ripple effect, that everything we say, we do, we touch, every action we take has a ripple effect for the whole world. it actually impacts everyone. If you've ever seen the movie Avatar, and they talk about the tree and the roots that are connected to everybody, that is a reality for all humanity. We are all connected, and there is a ripple effect. The more positive that we put out in the world, more love, the more healing, the more joy and happiness we put out, it has an effect. And you think as one person, you're not going to make a difference, but you do.
Yep.
I just recently shared a video that I was really connected to where it showed one person with light and love moving into a space where all these people are negative in the shadow, in the darkness, struggling, can have this ripple effect to now the whole group is now shining light and it affects. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be a conversation or a word. Sometimes it's just your energy
Energy.
coming into a room or a group that will have an effect on everyone in that room. So if you're sitting at home thinking, I can't make a difference, that is not true. Everything you do makes a difference. The difference is it for light and positivity? Is it for fear, right? Or all the other things? And where are you stepping in? We can always send light and love everywhere. We can always be compassionate and understanding everywhere. And it has a ripple effect. Universal law tells us that our actions do ripple out. Whatever we're doing has a ripple effect. So I love that conversation.
Yeah, it's so powerful. It really is. And, you know, kindness, I think it can just start from there too. Be kind to one person today, smile at one person today, see what that energy does for them and how many other people they smile at or how many other people they're kind to. And like the paying it forward that a lot of people have been doing, they pay for the person in line behind them at the drive-through. That's a huge ripple effect because not only do you affect them with their food and that good energy, they're going to do it too. And then we just keep going. It gets bigger. The world gets better. The energy gets better. We need that right now.
We do. We need it a lot right now. We need to be standing in the positive as much as possible and seeing the blessings. The world today, this is very purposeful, and we may not understand it from a human perspective, but there's a reason why all this is happening because it's time that we shift our world and to make changes. We all have a hard time with change. We all have a difficulty with change. And so there's just that resistance and that chaos that's coming in, that's breaking down what used to be to bring up something better, something new. And it's painful in the process. It's painful. When we look at a tarot card and we see the tower, everybody goes, oh my gosh. And the
Yep.
tower means there's something beautiful coming, but you got to get through this first. We have
Hmm.
to let go of things to receive things. We have to release the old to bring in the new. It's just how the energy works. And it can be uncomfortable, it can be difficult, it can be sad, it can be all of that. But in order for us to bring in what we want, that new energy, sometimes we have to go through this to bring that through. So, standing in the positive and finding the joy and happiness and doing kindness for people and being compassionate with people because we don't understand what they've been through. We have no idea what they're going through right now. And so that compassion for somebody else can be so important. And you never know when you touch somebody very deeply. Sometimes they just don't tell us that we made such a big difference. And that's what we're here to do, is to learn how to love each other. You talk about taking your power back and from those limiting beliefs and toxic people and relationships. Share with us a little bit what you mean by that.
So I'm really passionate about it. I created an oracle deck called Take Your Power Back as well, for people to work on empowering themselves through change, through healing from situations where they might have given their power away even unknowingly. One of the best examples of that is when you have a really strict boss or a boss who decides to yell instead of communicate at a healthy level. That's a toxic environment, and we start to take that into ourselves. So, taking your power back means shifting your reaction to people like that. It also means healing yourself, giving yourself that love back, and hanging out with your inner child for a bit, letting them know that they didn't deserve that treatment, right? That there was something to learn from and grow from in that experience. That's why we were placed in a challenging situation or relationship, but that you are there to protect your inner child, to recover from this pain, and then move forward in that power position, in that space of, hey, I am here. This is my energy. You are not going to affect my energy. You are not going to control my energy actions or who I am. I work with a lot of clients who have gone through narcissistic abuse, especially the empaths out there. They have a tendency to vibrate very well with a narcissist because narcissists come in giving all that love at first, the love bombing, the everything is wonderful and you're the best person ever. And for an empath, I mean, a lot of us want to hear that, right? So we fall for it and then they switch. So, yeah, a lot of my work is helping them through that so that they can get to a place of finding their strength, their truth on the inside, taking care of that inner child and stepping back into their power.
I always tell people we forget that we're sacred beings, and I love the word sacredness. I use it a lot. And if we are sacred beings, that means we have to treat ourselves as sacred. And it starts with us on how we treat ourselves, what we say to ourselves, what we do to
Mhm.
ourselves, because most individuals out there, they put their self last on the list and everyone else is before them. They let people treat them in certain ways and they feel like it's okay or deserving. There's a real power in saying, I'm going to respect me. And when you start respecting you and yourself, then the people you attract in are going to respect you as well. Holding healthy boundaries that says, "Hey, that wasn't nice. That wasn't fair. I didn't deserve that." And really holding that space. And I know that can be hard. I have a friend of mine that talks about we give our power away a lot. And one of her easy examples is you and a friend or you and a partner are going out to dinner and they look at you and go, "Where would you like to go eat?" And you go, "I don't care. It doesn't matter. You pick." You just gave your power away and your choice. And then they say, "Well, let's go get Mexican." You're like, you gave them the power and you let your power go. That's just a simple way of
Mhm.
when somebody asks you, "What would you like to have? Where would you like to go eat? Where would you like to go on vacation? What would you like to do today?" Be ready to answer that question. Just don't throw that power to somebody else. We do that all the time without realizing it.
Mhm.
And the more and more you do it, the less and less you really step into your power. And power doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be hurtful. It's not about being mean. When we look at boundaries, no is a full sentence.
Mhm.
Somebody says, "Hey, you want to volunteer for blah, blah, blah?" No. We feel like we have to explain it, justify it, have this
Yep.
long explanation of what we're doing. You can set a healthy boundary that today is about you, and somebody calls you and says, "Hey, you want to go blah, blah, blah?" "Well, I would love to, but I have a commitment today." You don't have to tell them the commitment is you. You don't have to share that, "Oh, I really wanted to spend today with me and it was going to be all about me." And then you feel guilty and then you go. A boundary is a boundary and it's okay
Mhm.
to set boundaries and you can do it nicely without a lot. And so, no, it's hard for me because I want to give them a whole paragraph of why that wouldn't work. And in reality, it's not necessary. It really isn't.
It's not. And I love that, be prepared with an answer, or even in those cases, like with the restaurant, give me a minute. Let me think about it. Let me think, it's okay to ask for a little bit of time before you give that instant answer to them just because they know what they want. You don't have to know right away. You can take a breath, think about it, right?
Take some time. My husband asks me every day, well, what do you want for dinner? And he'll ask me at 9 a.m. in the morning, and I'm just like, I'm really not ready to answer that question. Can you give me an hour or so? Let me first get fully awake, and then let me see what that's going to look like. Because dinner is several hours away. I'm not
Yep.
even prepared to answer right now. And I'll say, give me a little bit and I'll answer you. When do you need to know? Right? That's still holding on to your power, but giving you an opportunity to really think about it. And I think that is really, really important. Today we've talked a lot about some simple things that you can do that can dramatically change your life. I mean, overnight, dramatically change your life. All of these things of turning your volume up as your intuition, the ripple effect, understanding how that has an effect in those acts of kindness, and taking your power back. Those three key elements are amazing life changes. If you can just step in and try those, they are amazing. So I hope you've been listening, taking notes, and really thinking about it. Pandora, share with us about your decks, your books, some of the things that you have, some of the things that you offer. We will have your website along the bottom of this video and also in the description on all the podcast channels. But share with us a little bit of some of the things that you offer, you've created. I'd love to hear more about those.
Of course, of course. So we talked about the how to turn up the volume on your intuition. I created a course. And right now for your listeners, I've got a code, which is Sacred Magic, all special for you.
I love them.
And through the end of May, it's $50 off of the course. So you just put that in the shopping cart on my website. Um, the decks that I've created four. The first one was the Pandora's Box of Cards Oracle. And that one is a good oracle to do a little deep dive for personal practice. It's great for a daily card a day pull to sense if there's a theme going on. I also have some layout ideas. There's a digital guidebook in the deck, so you don't have to have that little itty bitty writing to thumb through. That's why I did it. Hello, glasses. And then the second deck that I created was the Take Your Power Back. What's interesting about that one is the artist is my son. So we had a great time collaborating on that one. The third deck was a one called Here and Now. It's an affirmation deck. It's 40 affirmations to keep you in your awareness in the present moment. It's another one of those things where you're feeling like your mind is going a million places that it shouldn't be. You can pull a card and have something to focus on while you take a few breaths, while you do maybe a quick meditation. And then the most recent deck is the Embrace Your Inner Light Self-Love Oracle deck. It's behind me on the other side because I never know which side to point on. Anyway, because I believe that we all need a little self-love in this world. That is definitely designed to be a daily practice deck. And each card has a task to do that goes along with the image or the message. Some of them are talking more about what you could do to shift your energy, how you can give that love back to yourself, practices, tools, all of it. I do guided meditations. Many of them are on my website that are available for download. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, the books. I'm in several anthology books, as well as the Finding the Missing Piece Inside, which was my first book, which is about relationships and how to have the relationship of your life. But first, the missing piece is not on the outside. It isn't another person. Many of my clients will be looking for that one person, the one who's going to complete them, but they have to complete themselves first. So it's about the self-work that we do, how we relate to the idea of love, what we were given in childhood as far as guidelines, what we experienced, what we saw in relationships that sort of set up this expectation of what a relationship looks like, because we weren't all given the same relationship rule book when we came into this world. So those are the high points of what's going on in my world.
Excuse me. That is awesome. What a catalog of great tools and information. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
Of course. Thank you. I love helping people. That's why I'm here on this planet. I believe is to connect and to help people to be their best selves, and to definitely be connecting to all of those things inside of them that are magical.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you for everyone that has watched today. Thank you for taking the time to be on the show. I wish you a sacred and magical week with all the tools. Today we've shared some of that sacred and magic. There have been some beautiful tools and insights that we've shared today. And I truly believe, even if you take one of these, it will change your life going forward. But if you can incorporate all three and start working through all three, it can make a powerful difference in your life. Believe you me, it has. We have the power to change our reality, and these are just a few of the tools that you can use to do that. Thank you, Pandora, for being on our show.
Thank you, Violet. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Please like, comment, and follow us on our favorite channels. We'd love to see you back here for another show. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch today. Have a sacred and magical week, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you for joining us. To find out more about Violet, head over to discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. You can also send a personal message to Violet through email, violet@discoveryourspiritualgifts.com. If you love the show, subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. Until next time, remember, we are meant to have abundant and joyful lives. We hope to see you soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.